and said she wanted to make them herself. Over there, Rio's assistant was blow-drying the customer's hair. After seeing a message from the customer, he hastily put down the dryer, rushed into the break room, and told everyone about the customer's strange behavior. The message that the woman sent was very negative and expressed a strong desire to die. Facing the customer who had been waiting for a long time, Kwang-soo hurried to the break room to remind Zen to start her hair appointment. Zen also tried to talk to her, advising her to look beautiful. Confronted with the customer's curt responses, Zen and the assistant began speculating wildly about whether or not the customer truly intended to die. While the customer was getting her hair done, Zen reviewed her previous appointments. It turned out the woman was a tutor. The last time she came to get her hair done by Zen, she had happily said that she was about to get married and had set the date for the autumn. But looking at her behavior today, had she had a relationship issue, which caused her to have suicidal thoughts? Everyone was huddled together, racking their brains, wondering how to prevent the customer from committing suicide. Kwang-soo also shared his perspective, saying that even if the client truly wanted to end her life, as outsiders, what could they really do? After all, it was the client's private matter. However, upon seeing the client's suicide message, they felt a sense of guilt for not doing anything. If they later saw news or posts online about the client's death, they would surely feel remorse. Therefore, everyone in the hair salon was doing their best to enlighten and counsel the woman. Not only that, after finishing the woman's hair, Zen even offered to do her makeup, making her look beautiful. Everything everyone did was in the hope that the woman could see the good things in life. They had done everything they could, and the rest depended on the woman herself. Watching the woman's figure disappear, everyone began to worry about her. While the assistant was cleaning the workstation, he discovered an item the woman had left behind. He then ran outside, calling the woman back. When he returned the item to her, the assistant frankly admitted that he had accidentally seen her message. He confessed that he himself had once contemplated suicide, but thinking of his parents, he had ultimately abandoned the idea. Furthermore, he had friends who cared about him. The woman left. It was unknown what her final choice would be. Not long after, Zen called everyone to the break room, telling them that the woman had changed her profile picture. Although no one knew what the woman's new profile picture meant, they were certain of one thing: she was still alive. A man unexpectedly grabbed a pair of scissors and inexplicably stabbed Zen's assistant. The assistant didn't resist, as if this was all within his expectations. The two looked at each other for a moment, and then the man released the scissors and ran. The assistant, after pulling out the scissors, couldn't bear it any longer and collapsed. Muyol quickly chased after the fleeing assailant. Just as he was about to catch up, the assailant tripped over a drunken pedestrian. At the same time, paramedics, having received a call, arrived, but the assistant vehemently refused to go to the hospital, as if afraid that others might discover something. The attack at the hair salon also attracted the attention and chatter of onlookers. The assistant was forced into the ambulance, still resisting. The doctor advised him to calm down, because he was severely injured. Inside the hair salon, police began questioning everyone, but no one had any impression of the assailant. Right at this moment, Muyal, having failed to catch the assailant, returned to the salon. The police quickly comforted Muyul, telling him not to blame himself, because catching the perpetrator was the police's responsibility. In the hospital, the assistant was still struggling. Faced with the assistant's lack of cooperation, the doctor had no choice but to sedate him. The doctor began preparing for the surgery, but when he cut away the assistant's clothing, they were all stunned. Although the sight before them was hard to believe, they didn't dwell on it and quickly proceeded with the emergency procedure. Only the assistant remained, with a lifeless gaze. After the surgery was completed, the nurses were all awkward, unsure of how to assign a hospital room. Since the ID said female, should they assign her to a female patient room? The next day, the police had obtained a photo of the assailant. But when faced with a stranger in the photo, everyone said they didn't recognize him. Initially, the manager thought it was a mentally ill person who had attacked randomly, but the police told the manager that this was a premeditated crime, because the camera had recorded his images for several consecutive days. The assailant seemed to have been scouting the area for days. Faced with a premeditated crime, as the police had said, Su Rai felt that the assistant had taken the blow for someone else. The manager agreed with her suspicion, because the assistant's existence was too inconspicuous. Muyol, in a way, became a scapegoat. At this moment, Zen was also feeling anxious, watching the security camera footage. Even the sudden appearance of the condom had startled her, because Zen also believed that she was the perpetrator's target. Could it be that the assistant had taken the hit for her during their meal? Zen discovered that the assistant's phone had been left behind in the director's locker, and Su-Ray, after finishing her shift, was preparing to visit the assistant in the hospital and bring his phone to him. But upon reaching the hospital room, the director saw that the curtains were completely drawn, which she felt was bad for air circulation, so she pulled them open. This action caused the other patients in the room to start gossiping. Su-Rai, curious, accidentally caught a glimpse of the assistant's medical chart. Strangely, the gender was listed as female. The two women, feeling terrified, sat in the car, finding it hard to believe what they had just seen and heard. It turned out that the director had just been shocked to discover that the assistant she had been working with all this time was actually a woman. This made it impossible for the director to immediately accept the truth. Even while sitting in the car, she couldn't calm down, while the assistant in the hospital, feeling as if she had been stripped bare, was in an extremely complex emotional state. Finally, she could only silently close the curtains again. After returning to the salon, the director and Su-Rai still hadn't recovered from the assistant's situation, and even Gi BBM and Muyol were unaware. However, nothing stays secret forever. In fact, Kwang Su had known for a long time that the assistant was a girl. Probably everyone except Kwang Su was in the dark. The director curiously asked Kwang Su how he had found out. Kwang Su had observed the assistant's posture, bone structure, and body curves, so he had known for a long time that the assistant was a girl. The director thought that everyone was Kwang Su's coworker, so he should have said something sooner so everyone would know. But this was a personal matter, so Kwang Su didn't feel comfortable saying anything. A week later, the assistant's health had fully recovered. Before being discharged, she changed out of the men's clothing she usually wore, walked out of the hospital alone, and got on a bus. She didn't know where she should go. Looking at the empty house, she knew life had to go on. In the morning, she got dressed as usual, walked down the familiar street, and eventually ended up at the salon. Faced with the assistant's appearance, everyone was very surprised. But after that, everyone was happy to welcome her back. The fact that she was outed as a girl didn't affect the assistant's work attitude. She continued to do her job well as usual, still helping Gi BBM get things when she wasn't tall enough. That evening, as they were about to finish their shift, the director received a call from the police. It turned out that the perpetrator had confessed. Actually, this was also within the assistant's expectations, because the perpetrator was her younger brother. Standing in front of the police station waiting for her family, the assistant proactively greeted her mother, but she didn't receive a positive response from her family. They treated her like a stranger. No one said a word, they just silently drove away, leaving the assistant to face her family's lack of understanding. The assistant wasn't pessimistic at all, because she had a place where she could truly be herself, the Butterfly Hair Salon. After a period of estrangement, Gi BBM and Muyol also got back together. They began a blissful period, looking at Muyol's childhood photos together, filled with hope for their future. But unexpectedly, just as Muyol left to go to the restaurant, out of curiosity, Gi BBM saw a picture of Muyol with his ex-girlfriend. When Muyol returned, she didn't ask too much, just handed his phone back to him. Although it was just an ex-girlfriend, for Gi BBM, who was just beginning to fall in love, the following days were filled with unspoken worries. Muyol seemed to sense that Gi BBM was troubled, so he asked her if there was anything she wanted to ask him. At this moment, Gi BBM was battling her own thoughts. She didn't know if she should ask about the photo or not. In the end, she still didn't have enough courage and instead asked a random question, "Do you like me?" The moment Muyol wrapped Gi BBM in his arms and said, "I love you," they were seen by Kwang Su and R, who were on their way to buy cake. He immediately felt uneasy because a joke he had made when Zen was injured had made Kwang Su believe it to be true. He had asked R if she liked Muyol, and she had confirmed it.